You know, most people would look at these two different images and think, yes, one definitely looks better than the other. But if you can't explain why that is, you can't recreate the same result. So let's work on training that perception. This image absolutely could have been painted as is for the most part, but it still wasn't really resolved. For example, there were some structural issues. Some of that is clearly visible in the leftover artifacts that came from the original sky image that I used. Those artifacts wouldn't exist from that vantage point if you were actually there in that spot taking a photograph of the arch. But there were also other design decisions still left on the table, and that difference matters. So let's talk about color impact, because that's probably the first change that most people will pick up on when they compare the two images. The original combined image felt a little bit flat. It felt like it was two separate images that were put together. And it felt that way because that's exactly what I did. The sky leaned a little bit pastel. It was kind of dull. The rock and the arch felt muted, and they were cooler in color temperature in comparison to the final image. It was literally two images competing instead of trying to work together. In the final image, or the final version of the image, saturation was strengthened. That warm against cool color relationship creates separation and movement at the same time. It builds depth, and it makes the image feel cohesive. Now, this isn't about making it louder just to make it louder. It's about making color relationships intentional. When warm and cool are working together instead of competing, the image becomes dynamic. And that dynamic quality creates visual and emotional impact. The second set of changes were structural in nature. The lower rock plane in the original photo was heavily distorted. A wide angle lens likely stretched it out. And that distortion pulls the eyes outward. It doesn't guide the eye like an intentionally designed image. So correcting that ground plane wasn't just about making it more realistic. It was about directing the eye movement for the viewer that sees the painting. Those background elements from the sky image that we mentioned just a minute ago also needed to be removed. Again, that wasn't to chase photorealism, that was for clarity purposes. When something distracts from the subject, even subtly, it weakens the design. So next, we'll discuss the lighting and shadow decisions. In the original combined image, the backside of the arch was heavily in shadow. And when you look at the lighting in the image, that decision would absolutely be more realistic, but it's not very compelling. Reducing that shadow actually introduced more warmth into the image. It introduced more variation. It actually allowed the form to breathe. So this is not about rejecting realism, it's about balancing realism with impact. And impact is what we want from an artist's perspective. Believability matters, but so does visual appeal. When realism and mood are competing, you have to consciously decide which decisions are serving your design better. And that's a very important aspect to designing your own images, is making sure that all of the decisions that you're making are working together as one. So the point is this: these are not isolated decisions. They all influence each other. For example, when color relationships shift, your lighting is going to read differently. It may be subtle based on the shift that you make or the decision that you make, but it will read differently. When structure improves, depth becomes more believable. Again, that could be very subtle based on the changes that you're deciding to make. When shadow is adjusted, temperature relationships are going to change. So design decisions don't live in separate categories. They overlap, they interact, and that interaction is what creates momentum in your image. So at the end of the day, resolving your design first isn't necessarily going to eliminate experimentation once the painting process actually begins. Paint is still paint. Pigment is still pigment. Pigment is going to act and react like pigment always does. But when the intent is clear, before you begin the painting process, you're not guessing at direction anymore. You're executing with purpose. And that's a big difference. So as we mentioned before, the first image easily could have been painted, but the final image that I designed was designed specifically to be painted. And that's the difference. It's a big difference. The difference in visual appeal between the two images is pretty stark. So this video is not about copying what I've done, because not every design or every image is going to require the same decisions or the same adjustments. This is about learning to ask why something works or why it doesn't work before you ever even pick up your airbrush. So before you paint your next project, I want you to do one thing. Just change one thing on purpose, even if it's something very small. I don't want you to change something randomly or reactively. I want you to pick one thing and change it on purpose. Change it with purpose. And then you can ask yourself why it worked or why it didn't work. Because at the end of the day, if you can train your perception, you can elevate any design you're working from. If your design decisions are intentional, then the painting process becomes intentional too. As always, I hope all of that makes sense. I hope you got something out of this. I'm Trevor with Wicked Art Studio. I will see you next time.